Girls are starting to shred it. This is the best they've looked in 3 practices. That's one of the things we're working on today is down in the puffs, down when you're fast. Decrease the apparent wind a little. Nice job, everybody. This is the debrief for practice number 3, which was last Tuesday. I think you'll see from the video that you guys are doing pretty darn well. You've had about 5 hours in the boat, and you guys a little all over the place in body positions and things like that. You'll notice the skippers and crews really far apart, the skippers way back, people very bent at the waist sometimes, trapping and things. But that's to be expected. We've spent very little time on land. You've done very well considering we've really only spent about 45 minutes, 50 minutes on land total in the 3 practices, showing you how to do things. I think you'll notice from the video that generally heel was pretty good for you guys. Generally flat. Take a close look at the video. You'll see where, when we're sailing in places like La Playa, underneath buildings, trees, houses, streets, very gusty conditions, it's very hard to sail perfectly flat because we end up dunking our crew. So some of your leeward heel is to be expected, but work on that. Work on limiting heel. The way you know you're heeling too much is when you let go of the tiller, the boat has too much weather helm. Weather helm could be caused by other things, too loose a jib and too tight of a main at the same time, things like that. But again, weather helm is your indicator that you're heeling too much. The problem with a skiff is that the leeward aft section of the hull becomes way less efficient when you heel. And so what I recommend on heel is scoot forward and back, listen to the stern. Heel the boat to leeward, listen to the stern. Okay, so use your ears. Weather helm and a very loud stern, leeward stern when you're heeling are indicators you're heeling too much. But generally, if you look at the video, I thought it was pretty good. And again, the limitations of practicing in a place like La Playa, inside bays, where the puffs and lulls are more dramatic than when we get out in steadier breeze. Still good to practice in, but it makes you heel to leeward too much, those conditions. It trains you to heel to leeward, so get out in the steady wind once in a while and really work on flat. You'll notice from the video, a lot of you guys are either on your knees, things like that. Only on your knees temporarily, and especially for bigger teams, which you guys are not, you sit on your bottom, okay? only on your knees temporarily, getting good at getting on the balls of your feet, and then the Mickey Mouse position. That's one knee down and on the ball of your other forward foot. Let's think about that for a second. Back foot is on the ball of your foot. Forward leg is on your knee. Mickey Mouse. Don't know how it got called that. But we got to get off our knees. Look at the video. You'll see you're on your knees a lot. It's better to be low center of gravity, either on your bottom or in those soaking conditions in the Mickey Mouse position. Again, one ball of foot and one knee. Don't get in the habit of sailing on your knees. As you get bigger and bigger, you tend to sit more on your bottom. One of the biggest things, I don't have a ton of comments from this practice because the practice was quite good. You guys did an outstanding job of doing the windward leeward jump-in drill. Let's just cover that real quick. The jump-in drill, again, is just sailing a windward leeward course amongst each other, then stopping once in a while, making a few fixes, changing a few things, talking about a few things, and then jumping back into the windward leeward drill. You do a little rabbit start against one of your buddies and jump in back into the windward leeward course. So that's the jump-in drill. And it's very good because you don't need a coach for it. You guys can just go out and do this. Biggest thing we're getting better at is up in the lulls. This is a downwind thing. Up in the lulls. Down in the puffs. Down when fast. Or down when pressure is good on the spinnaker sheet. And you kind of split the difference there, guys. You're not like going way up and way down. You're just controlling the apparent wind. So if we have 8 knots of wind, 8. Now let's say 7, because I know we're in soaking conditions in 7. So let's go 7 knots of wind. Okay. And if we're able to go directly downwind, which we're not obviously, but if we were, and we were going 7 knots, so this boat is going 7 knots, we would have 0 knots of apparent wind. Okay? We'd have 0 knots going straight with it. Every little bit that you go higher, you are going to increase that number. Okay? And if you go this way, you're going to have an enormous amount of wind because you've got 7 knots of wind. You're going 5 knots that way. You're somewhere around 10.5 knots of wind. So when we're sailing, so let's say it's light air right now and we're in soaking conditions, we're going to be on this course here. And our apparent wind is going to be whatever, 4 knots. If it gets lighter than 7 knots, we can keep the apparent wind the same by heading up. Okay, so if it's 7 knots, this is going to have 4.3 apparent wind. This is going to have 4. This is going to have 3.3 knots apparent wind. Okay, so as we get going fast, the apparent wind is going to shift forward, and that's going to allow us to turn down without killing our speed. But it will decrease the apparent wind and make it so that we're gaining downwind more. As it gets light, heading up increases the apparent wind, gives the spinnaker more pressure. And right now what you guys should be doing is the crew should be steering the boat, meaning the crew is talking pretty much all the time. Okay? And yeah, the skipper can overrule, let's say, but the crew is saying up 2, up 3, hold. Okay, good pressure. Down 3, hold. Back up a little, hold. Huge pressure, down far, hard. And the skipper is just kind of matching whatever the crew is saying. The crew is sitting there feeling the leeward sheet and finding the right balance between too much pressure and not enough pressure in the sheet. And they're communicating based on that. I recommend up 1, up 2, up 5, or down 1, down 2, down 5. Those are kind of degrees. Down 1 is barely turn. And then when I say hold, that's when the skipper is essentially holding their course. So let's work on that. As you become a team, as you get better, the communication decreases because you start to do it naturally together. That's your goal. You got to sail a lot with the spinnaker and get to the point where your communication is less, 1/5 of what it was at this point in your development stage. Now, if you watch the video, steering through jibes, a little bit better than last week, but steering through jibes, you are watching the spinnaker through jibes. You can use your crew for your timing a little, but you're watching the spinnaker as you're crossing the boat. You get the tiller in your new hand right as the spinnaker's filling, and then you really got to steer the boat well, watching the spinnaker, almost like you're steering to it upwind. As soon as it fills on the other side, you're immediately trying to help the spinnaker be on the edge of luffing. You all are understeering on your jibes a little. As your crew gets better at the wire-to-wire traps, you will find that you're going to steer through the jibe a little better and come out of the jibe with the spinnaker full and going fast. So watching the spinnaker through the jibes, maybe watching the crew through the jibes, as soon as the boom goes across, coming to grips with how far do I turn once the boom comes across. In these conditions, you are steering, as soon as the boom goes across, you're heading up another 15 degrees probably in those lighter air conditions. Very good. I'm sure there's more to cover. I would like you guys to go to YouTube and I want you to get inspired a little here. So go to YouTube and search a couple of things, but one of them for inspiration would be Nokia sailing. And watch what's possible in a sailboat. Nokia sailing. It should be an 18-footer sailing in about 35 knots, 4 legs with the spinnaker on all the downwind legs. So look up Nokia sailing, and then 49er or 49er FX, Olympic medal races. And start watching the general routine of a skiff race. You'll watch them going very slowly before the start, incredible acceleration at the start, really solid close-hauled sailing upwind, really solid downwind sailing, just watching their rhythm, visualizing a little bit of what a skiff race is all about. Do that. And the last thing, May 15, 16. Okay, guys, you really need to get on your 420s, your Club 420s now. May 15, 16 is your next regatta. You got to get signed up for the Perry Regatta in Cabrillo Beach. You got to get your hotel rooms right away. Tell your parents. And then you got to figure out what boat is yours at San Diego Yacht Club, at Mission Bay, at Coronado, whatever. Figure out your boat, get the bottom clean, measure the rakes, get out and practice. Let's go to that regatta as a team for the San Diego area, and everybody has solid boats, solid skills, trying hard. Could be our windiest venue, usually is our windiest venue, so let's go up there and really learn. If you have any other questions, make sure you bring them to practice on Tuesday. Very good, everybody. See you Tuesday.